Hello and welcome to this episode of CIAC Conversations, recorded on the sidelines of this year's Canada and Asia Conference, or CIAC 2025. I'm Mike Roberts, the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada's Communications Director. In this episode of CIAC Conversations, I'm joined by Laurie Kerr, Chief Executive Officer of FinDev Canada, Canada's development finance institution. Laurie joined FinDev Canada as CEO in June 2021 and is a widely experienced international development finance professional with more than 2 decades of leadership in private investment in emerging markets, with a focus on sustainable infrastructure, climate finance, and blended finance. I caught up with Laurie at this year's conference to discuss her organization's work in Southeast Asia and the broader Indo-Pacific region, and to hear about a very special announcement she made at CIAC 2025 about FinDev Canada's engagement in the region. To learn more about that announcement and to hear from Laurie, please enjoy this latest episode of CIAC Conversations. Hello, Laurie, and welcome to our special CIAC 2025 episode of Asia-Pacific Conversations.
Thanks so much, Mike. It's really great to be here.
Thanks, Laurie. Before we dive into some exciting news, hot off the press, you might say, from FinDev Canada, this was an announcement that was made during our Canada in Asia conference in Singapore this week, which is about to kick off tomorrow. Can I ask you to explain for our listeners who may not be familiar what it is that FinDev does as Canada's development finance institution? And more specifically, what is it currently doing in Southeast Asia and the broader Indo-Pacific region? Are there any new projects in the Indo-Pacific that you're particularly excited about at this time?
Thanks again, Mike, and really happy to explain about FinDev Canada. So FinDev Canada, we're Canada's bilateral development finance institution. We were established in 2018, and we support development through the private sector. We provide financing and investment, blended finance solutions, technical assistance, and advisory to support sustainable and inclusive growth only in emerging markets and developing economies. As a DFI, we are focused on impact. That's the development part of a DFI. And for FinDev Canada, that means 3 impact goals: market development, climate and nature action, and gender equality. And we bring this focus to 3 sectors that we operate in. The first one is the financial industry. So we support local and regional banks, non-bank financial institutions, and private equity, with the intent there to strengthen institutions and access to financial services in the markets that we serve. The second sector is agribusiness and their related value chains to support food security and address opportunities to support climate action. And the third area is sustainable infrastructure, supporting the development of low-carbon, climate-resilient infrastructure in the power, transportation, water, and digital subsectors. And when we first opened our doors in 2018, we were focused on Sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America and the Caribbean. Then, the Government of Canada, as part of its broader Indo-Pacific strategy, expanded FinDev Canada's mandate to include this region, the Indo-Pacific, and something that we are really, really excited about. So we jumped into action over a year ago in January 2024, and this opportunity to engage in emerging markets and developing economies in the Indo-Pacific is really timely. The world is currently undergoing multiple, interconnected, expected and unexpected transformations, economic, political, and social. Simply put, the need for sustainable solutions is more urgent than ever. Whether this is bolstering access to sustainable finance via the financial industry or supporting seeds to supermarkets across agricultural value chains, this is also true in the infrastructure space, where much of the infrastructure the region needs is yet to be built. So these are types of the projects that we're focused on.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that explanation. And we'll return to some of the actions that you're committed to here in the Indo-Pacific. But before we do that, we often hear the terms sustainable and inclusive and shared prosperity when it comes to growth and opportunity in emerging markets and developing economies, particularly in Southeast Asia and the Indo-Pacific. As the CEO of FinDev Canada, with some US $1.4 billion in signed commitments globally, what are your thoughts on this concept that good development or values-driven development floats all boats, so to speak?
It's a great question, and I have to say that we tend to agree with this sentiment. The better emerging markets and developing economies do, the better we all do. And maybe I can illustrate that through an example. So let's take the country of Thailand. A few years ago, Thailand made the decision to shift the makeup of its energy mix towards renewable energies. Their goal is to generate more than 25% of their electricity from renewable sources by 2037, which would help put the country on the path towards achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 and net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2065. So good goals and aspirations that Thailand has. And this is where FinDev Canada comes in, working with the private sector to execute in support of country-led goals. So in 2024, last year, FinDev Canada made a $59 million loan to a company called Gulf Renewable Energy in Thailand. Our loan is helping finance the construction and operation of 12 renewable energy projects, solar PV, and some with battery storage across the country of Thailand. Once in operation, these projects will avoid more than 600,000 tons of CO2 emissions annually. That's the equivalent of taking more than 130,000 cars off the road. And combining solar-generated electricity with battery storage will enhance the reliability of the power grid in Thailand. This integration offers energy during peak demand while supporting energy security, supporting thousands of local jobs, many of which are for women, and market growth. In many ways, this is good development where rising tides lifts most, if not all boats.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that additional context. I appreciate that. Final question for Laura before we turn to the news of the week from FinDev Canada. As Canadian firms and organizations, and you touched on this earlier when you spoke of geopolitical tensions and turbulence in the world right now, in the context of increased protectionism globally and the economically disruptive forces that we're seeing coming out of the current administration in the U.S. White House, should Canadian firms and organizations be looking to diversify their interests away from traditional partners towards new ones? And what would you say to those Canadian businesses about those opportunities, both current and perhaps future, in dynamic Asia?
Well, it's exactly as you said. Asia is dynamic. The Indo-Pacific region is full of thriving economies, dynamic economies. It's the world's fastest growing economic region, and by 2030, it'll be home to 2/3 of the global middle class. The population is young, it's growing, it's urbanizing, and at the same time, within the broader Indo-Pacific, emerging markets and developing economies in the region have significant development challenges and therefore huge opportunities for investment. And just for an example, in one sector, one of the sectors that FinDev Canada supports is infrastructure, as I mentioned. And in infrastructure alone, there is a $1.7 trillion annual investment opportunity for sustainable infrastructure in all its forms, from energy to water and sanitation to roads to internet. So that's a huge opportunity. And at FinDev Canada, we're focused, as I mentioned, on the power of the private sector. We provide the private sector efficient and effective solutions on commercially oriented terms. And then the private sector can innovate, create jobs, and develop markets that can complement public sector policies and help solve development challenges. So it's a huge opportunity here. Market development is an especially important part of our work. And this is a moment to double down on our role, especially when it contributes to quality job creation and maintaining existing jobs. And market development can highlight income generation and the rise of the middle class, which is more likely to create export opportunities for Canadians.
Excellent. Thanks, Laurie. Yeah, that investment gap in infrastructure, the opportunity there for Canadian firms, we've been watching that at the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada for some time through our trade and investment team, and it is significant, and the opportunities are massive for Canadian firms if they're tuned into those opportunities. So, okay, thank you for your patience, Laurie. I wanted to return to the big announcement of the week from FinDev Canada. On February the 20th, 2025, to mark that date for our listeners who may be checking this podcast out at a future date, during our Canada and Asia conference in Singapore on the 20th, on the sidelines of that conference, your organization announced the opening of its first regional office in Singapore to support clients and partners throughout the Indo-Pacific region. That's exciting news for sure, and obviously that is action on the ground for Canada. Can you tell us a little bit about this office, why now, and what this means for FinDev Canada as an active development partner in Asia, in the region here?
Absolutely. So We're thrilled to be opening in Singapore. We seek to be a trusted partner in the region, and that's why FinDev Canada is taking this very important step forward in our journey. As you mentioned, we're pleased to announce our first opening outside of Canada, right here in the dynamic financial hub of Singapore. Singapore represents a strategic gateway to the Indo-Pacific and a platform to continue financing development through the private sector. With our new office here and deepening business relationships across the region, we'll be better positioned to identify and enable these opportunities. So partnerships are the answer to how. This is how we approach all of our work at FinDev Canada. We believe in building relationships, collaborating with businesses, with banks and investors, and with governments. Our partnerships with other development finance institutions like the Asian Development Bank reflect our conviction that you can do more by working together. And I often tell my team our business only moves at the speed of trust. So by being based here, we really want to earn and build trust of our partners in the region. So of all the places to open our first regional office outside of Canada, we intentionally chose the Indo-Pacific and Singapore. This region is a cornerstone for global development, an engine of economic growth and innovation, and we are really excited to be part of it.
Fantastic. And I didn't realize that it's the first regional office outside of Canada at all. So that's even more exciting news. If I have that right, Laurie?
That's exactly right.
Excellent. Okay, great. And you mentioned the Asian Development Bank. So this office initiative, the opening here in Singapore, also builds on a 2023 MOU between FinDev Canada and the Asian Development Bank. What does this partnership entail, and how will you be working together in the Indo-Pacific moving forward?
So as I mentioned, part of FinDev Canada's DNA is to really work with partners in the region, and the Asian Development Bank has emerged as a foremost partner of ours. Further to the MOU, we've agreed we share potential financing and investment opportunities in the region. We've got a number of potential transactions in our pipeline that we're looking at with the Asian Development Bank. They're introducing us to a number of their partners in the region, so it's a really collaborative relationship, and we're very grateful to the ADB for welcoming us with open arms into the region, and that also complements other partnerships we're building with other bilateral development finance institutions that are active here, like British International Invest from the UK and DEG from Germany, for example.
Excellent. Great. So the office opening aligns with the Government of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, which listeners of this podcast will be familiar with because we've spoken of it quite frequently in many of our episodes past. And it was announced in late 2022, and it dedicates funding and articulates a renewed commitment to the region. Can you tell us a little bit about this alignment and how the importance of a persistent presence by Canadian companies and Canadian organizations in the region in 2025 and beyond is important?
Absolutely. So in terms of alignment with Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, we are, absolutely aligned with that. So as part of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, we received $750 million in additional global core capital that really enables our expansion into the Indo-Pacific region. As I had mentioned, we'd been working in Latin America and the Caribbean and Sub-Saharan Africa. So those resources enabled our expansion here into the region. And core, if you read Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, core to it is to be a more active and engaged partner in the Indo-Pacific. And we are part of that. At FinDev Canada, we want to build relationships, forge partnerships to be credible and reliable partners, not just for today, but into the future. We're also aligned with the different pillars of the Indo-Pacific strategy, particularly the one around building a sustainable and green future, for example. And that's really where our focus on sustainable infrastructure comes in. So again, we're really part and parcel with Canada's broader Indo-Pacific strategy.
Excellent. Before I ask you about our Canada in Asia conference and what you're looking forward to seeing or to experiencing here in Singapore this week, can you offer us any sneak peeks at the activities or the initiatives of your new regional office that may be rolling out in the coming months?
Absolutely. So we are hitting the ground running, so to speak. We have already two incredible team members here in Singapore. Michael Smart is our chief representative, and Sadia Hassan is a lead investment officer in the infrastructure space here. Both have a lot of experience in the region and deep networks. And what they'll be doing right away is continuing to build and deepen partnerships and develop our pipeline so we can bring our financing and investment to the region.
Excellent. Definitely a boots-on-the-ground approach, which is something the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada is a proponent of for sure. Returning to our conference here this week in Singapore, the Canada in Asia Conference. This is our third conference here in Singapore under this banner, and you're here, and your organization is supporting this initiative. Is there anything you're looking forward to seeing or engaging with over the next couple of days here at the conference?
Yeah, I think the conference is really, really exciting. I'm disappointed that I hadn't been here before. As a matter of fact, this is my first conference, but even participating in some of the sessions earlier today, it's the power of bringing together both actors from the region with Canadians is really great. Learning a lot from the different market perspectives, the different country perspectives that the partners bring around the table is really instructive for us, and it's just an incredible networking opportunity. So congratulations to all the conference organizers for this. It's really second to none.
Laurie, I know you're going to be busy here with the opening of your new regional office in Singapore, but I understand that this is not your only stop on your Asia trip this month of February. Can you tell us where else you'll be visiting this week and month, and what you hope to achieve on those trips?
Absolutely. So after this fantastic week in Singapore, part of our team is going to the Philippines, going to Manila to meet with the Asian Development Bank and have other client and partner meetings there. And I myself, I'm going off to Jakarta in Indonesia to touch down there. So last year, FinDev Canada, we made about 10 trips to the region already, knowing that we were anticipating the opening of our regional office here and really wanted to get deeper into the region.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Laurie, and thank you for your support of this initiative. We do appreciate it. I'm going to let you get on with your day. I know you've got a lot to do and a lot of people to meet. I want to thank you, Laurie Kerr, CEO of FinDev Canada, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk to our listeners today for Asia-Pacific Conversations. We wish you the best of luck with your new office, and I know we're going to be talking with you and networking with you and partnering with you more on that initiative in the coming months and years. So thank you for attending our conference, and thank you for participating in our podcast today.
Excellent, and thank you so much to you for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you for listening to this episode of CIAC Conversations with Laurie Kerr, Chief Executive Officer of FinDev Canada. To learn more about our CIAC initiatives, please visit our website at canadainasia.ca, and to read our research and analysis on news and information in Asia that impacts Canada, be sure to visit our main website at www.asiapacific.ca. Until next time, thanks for listening.